I'm going to say something controversial and I need you to stick with me. Republicans are right about one thing. Gun laws alone will not fix gun violence. It requires a multi-faceted approach. And, there's a big and, local elected officials and local government often have the highest impact in keeping your family safe. Please see what I mean.
Okay, so my son started 4K this year, which is through the public school system, which means I'm now getting emails that go out to parents and caregivers in the whole district. After the horrific shooting in Georgia last week, they sent out this email talking about school safety and making sure everybody's safe, and that they just launched this new program called Speak Up, Speak Out, which is an anonymous reporting system for tips. So I go on to read more of this email, and as you can see, it's, for people to report warning signs, dangerous threats, things like that. Anything that could help stop a school shooting. It says it's provided at no cost by the Wisconsin Department of Justice Office of School Safety. So every 2 years, the governor proposes a new biennial budget. He puts together a proposal of his recommendation for where the money should go based on the greatest need, the biggest impact, what the voters are asking for, things like that. There's a committee within the state legislature called the Joint Finance Committee. They take his proposal, they have some listening sessions around the state where they're supposed to listen to public input, and then they slice and dice the governor's proposal and send him back a new one. I bet you can guess where this is going next. Republican-controlled Joint Finance Committee chose not to provide state funding. Attorney General Josh Kaul said losing it would undermine safety in Wisconsin's schools, effectively taking away a resource that has been in place for 2 years. By the way, it was ultimately stood up by then Republican Governor Scott Walker after the Parkland shooting. Governor Evers included 7 positions and about $1 million in his initial budget proposal. The JFC Joint Finance Committee ultimately decided not to include an increase in state funds for the office in the budget it approved, leaving the department with $500,000 and 3.8 positions, which is not sufficient. By the way, the state has a historic surplus of $7 billion. Now, as you can tell by the email I showed earlier, it did eventually get funding. Now, it's important to note that the funding is temporary and was paid for by COVID-19 relief money that was left over from the American Rescue Plan Act, which was a Democratic federal bill signed by President Biden. So the question is, do Republicans give a shit about keeping your kids safe in school? It's rhetorical.
Republicans always talk about how they will never vote for gun safety bills because it infringes on their Second Amendment rights. And at the same time, they will not fund mental health in schools or resources like a school safety tip line. Local elections are so important. Make sure you know who's on your ballot and text and call your friends and make sure they know too, and help them understand how these elections impact their everyday lives. Go get them.